Welcome to the Political Dice. It's controversial,
purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Yes, State House oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani gwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleesa amaanyi.
Olwofadda bafutoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwojema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF baamala tebabanja. Olwo baba ate bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simanyanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamba apanyiga mawe.
Ebe ndabena birindira no ku the Political Dice ku the alternative TikTok nange teditenja ewamune.
Farida Bikobere
Buli wa Sunday
sawa 2.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from that short commercial break. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. I've been joined by Miss Esther Nakkazi. She is the founder of the Uganda Health Journalists Network. She's a journalist by profession, and of course we're going to be talking about her network, and of course we're going to be looking at the grand scheme of journalism today. What happened to journalism? Are journalists still doing what they're supposed to do? How is health reporting really vital at a time such as this one? And of course, how can it help you as a consumer? And of course, you as a journalist, what do you stand to gain in telling health-related stories? You can send in some of your messages. I'll be reading them subsequently as we continue with the program. Miss Esther Nakkazi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I am very well. I'm happy to see you today.
Nice to see you too.
How is Kampala and Uganda generally?
Kampala is a little bit tight for everyone. I think the economy is not doing very well for all of us, but we are trying. Let me just say, everybody is doing their best to survive.
Yeah, surviving is the right word to use.
Yeah.
But you have been in the journalism world for a while, and you've also been in Uganda generally. Have we been at a worse situation like this? Because it feels like everything is at its worst. The criminality at its worst, the corruption at its worst. Did we have a better Uganda, or Uganda has been like this?
I think we had a better Uganda. I think, of course, when a regime starts, things turn out to be a little bit, you're coming from one regime to go to another regime. So you find that there's a lot of changes, mostly for the better. And when it takes a bit of time, I think, for everybody, there's a lot of complacency that will affect everyone. And it is really, really affecting many people now.
It sounds so, because do you also want to comment on the criminality? Are you seeing how people are hit with pavers on the head?
I see that, and it's a sad thing. And I think, the police and all those organs that are concerned with keeping security should do something about it, because one of the reasons that people want to thrive in their country is when they feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do not want to make your small earned money and your phone is stolen from the, your bag is stolen. Yeah. It's just absurd.
Wow, that's really sad. Let me come to you, Esther, to just the person of Esther. Who is Miss Esther Nakkazi?
Well, I'm a science journalist. I started out with the East African newspaper about 20 years ago.
Oh.
So I did a lot of reporting at the East African, which is a regional newspaper, and
Yes.
that helped me, I think, look at the bigger picture. And then I moved to freelancing. Getting into freelancing is really hard because you're a lonely person. You're not talking to anybody in the newsroom.
You are one army or one man journalist.
Yes. And then you're also looking for how do you survive? Because when you're, as opposed to being employed in a newsroom where you have a salary, they probably give you some airtime, you have food, you have all that stuff. Here you are on your own. So it's a lonesome journey. It's very, very trying, and you have to have the connections. So yeah.
So you have to be a brand as a journalist yourself because you don't have any media affiliation.
No.
It's you alone.
It is you alone. And yeah, you have to look for the stories, because when you're doing freelancing, you're mostly doing freelancing with media houses that are out there. They have never seen you. Some of my editors have never seen me. They just see my byline, I pitch a story, and that's it. Yeah. So, but besides that, I had an opportunity to go to a wonderful school in the US. I won a scholarship about 10 years ago now, and I went to the US, to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They have a journalism program, a science journalism program, and I was there for a year. And I was able to appreciate writing science, because not many people here want to write science. People do a lot of politics, people do a lot of other things.
Yes.
And then also people don't want to niche themselves out, to streamline themselves and specialize. So after that, I thought, I'm born to do science, and I'm just going to do science reporting.
I'll ask you about the value of science reporting, but before I do that, the 20 years you've been in the game, first I commend you for a job well done. It's not every day that you find someone who's consistent for all that long serving in such a profession such as this one. But then my question is, you've been in two dispensations. You've been in that journalism of the Charles Onyango Boys, where the story ran more than the name Esther. The people would understand the story. There were no social media at the time, you can say. Now we have evolved through a social media. How has that journey been? The evolution from the traditional journalism we knew to the journalism of today now.
I think the ability for you to survive in the game is for you to adapt easily and quickly, and to pick up all those things very, very quickly. Because back in the day, I remember that we used to, I was in the era of computers, so it's not so back then, but we did have computers. We would send our stories to Nairobi, but like you rightly say, there was no social media.
It would be email, right? Email?
It would be emailed.
Okay.
And then the editor in Nairobi looks at the story, edits it, and sends it back, and all that. And now, it's pretty much the same, but you have to have a social media presence. Like, I'm demanded by my editors to put my story on my social media handle, all my handles, and they also do that on their own platforms. And I think the visibility grows bigger, and it's faster, because there are many people doing it. It's not like you're that detailed. You're detailed, but it's a little bit different now. It's faster, really.
Okay. How about you as a woman, the 20 years? Because you being a woman, sometimes it can be challenging in such spaces. Are there some challenges?
Of course, there are challenges. I think when I was young and I got into the newsroom, it was really a male-dominated newsroom.
Exactly.
Yeah. At that point in time, it was like you're from school, you get into a newsroom, it's male-dominated. And you're trying to survive because everybody's trying to put out stories. Still, when I was in the East African, I was not like on the staff payroll. I was a freelance. I would be given some money to retain me, but I was still fighting for space like everybody else. So it was pretty tough, and it made me work hard, really hard, and I learned the value of working hard. And now on my own, I really work hard.
Yeah, if you did work hard at that time, really. Now if you're serving your own, why science really?
I think I was born to be a scientist. In my head, I just thought my mom died young, and she was a nurse. And I thought, in all her dreams, she thought I should have been maybe a doctor or something. But I think in my earlier years, even if I love reading and I love literature and I can do that very easily, my mind, in my head, I think I preferred the sciences to the arts. But then I didn't do science. I just did mass comm.
Okay.
So when I got into reporting, I thought I should do this, and you learn a lot in science.
But people take it as boring. You realize that in the media space, everybody they tell to do a health story, that one is boring. People won't watch it.
And
There's that sense.
The science I write is a little bit
complicated.
But there is a niche of people who appreciate science, and those people are very dedicated to what you're writing. They're dedicated to reading what you're writing, and I think the world revolves around science. Yeah, the Western world is where they are because of science. If they come up with a new innovation, if they come up with something different and something new, we are all keen to copy it. But it comes from science because they have to do research, they have to test it, they have to put it out there. The politics also plays a role because, policy makers.
You have.
Yes.
But when you look at this market of ours, someone is about some NUP person, and then you're also going to bring a story about maybe a science that is happening. And you're competing for clicks, you're competing for attention.
Exactly.
With such an audience, really, do you sit back and say, okay, yes.
People who may not think it's important, but you will find it on the front page of many
Yes, please, okay. Wow. So that image you can see is for in Uganda particularly. Before on this issue of health reporting, because as a hemorrhage in the country, affecting various
October to today. Is interested in
health.
About health, yeah. It's just the way you deliver the message, and it's the way you package it. It's the way you know. Yeah.
I'm still with Miss Esther Nakkazi. She's a journalist, but also the founder and team lead at Health Journalists Network in Uganda. Let's start from there. Where does the vision come from of you starting this particular entity?
Okay, so when I came from MIT, like I said, then I went on I came back to Uganda. Many people were like trashing me and saying, hey, why didn't you stay? Why didn't you do that? My family was not happy. I remember my dad sat me down and said, you have more opportunity there. And I have a brother there who has stayed there we went at the same time. And then I said, I think I need to contribute to this society. I had done about 10 years in the markets, and I had gotten this very good opportunity, and I said, well, I need to give back. I need to do something different. I had stood on the shoulders of many people who had taught me many things, and I had learned, gotten many opportunities. So then a few friends of mine, I talked to them. I said, we need to come up with this, and that is how.
Okay, so the Health Journalists Network has been operation for how long? If you had to just elaborate, how long have you guys been in business?
We have been in business for about 10 years.
Okay. Wow. And how have the 10 years really been? So that means 2014, when you came back from MIT, you started this network. Yes, wow. But
starting is one thing, registering and doing, but really being active has been about 10 years. Wow. And I think the most difficult thing in here is keeping it together. Because, you're a journalist, you know how difficult it is for all of us. So on one hand, you're doing your freelancing, because I have to keep writing and doing my freelancing as a person. And this side, I'm a leader. I'm trying to look for opportunities, find funding, and do stuff on the other side. So that is something that really keeps me on my toes.
So even up to today, I thought right now you have finished to secure the bag.
Even up today, because just this is Tuesday. Yeah, last week we had a cafe. Getting the scientists to speak to us and all that. It just keeps you on your toes, really. Yeah, it does.
You mentioned the science cafes. I've heard something about them, but do you mind elaborating to some of the Ugandans what do you mean by these science cafes that you hold? So,
when you start something, you want to have activities, because even if you're doing politics, even if you're doing something, if you have an organization, there should be activities that get you going and doing something. So I wrote up a proposal which was about bringing scientists closer to journalists. And the proposal was saying, we want, if you go out and do your research as a scientist, we need the public to hear about what you're doing. And at that point in time, the scientists were very shy. And I must say scientists are really shy.
Even up to today, I was going to say,
they're coming up a little bit, but they have to know you. But they are very shy. They don't want to come in front. They don't want to talk to journalists. Exactly. They don't want to do that. They want to keep in their labs. And they are very technical people. They are very clever people.
They don't talk a lot like us.
No, they don't. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do science, so I put in the proposal and said, I want to bring scientists closer to journalists to tell us what exactly is happening in the science world. Because even if I'm a science journalist, I'm not a scientist. I have to get it from the horse's mouth. And there are many people there who are journalists and want to hear from scientists. Yes. So I wrote a proposal, and it said, this will be in a casual, informal setting. and it's called a media cafe. So that then we did luckily enough, one of the organizations picked it up and we started the science media cafes.
And how has it been?
It's been a lot of fun. It has expanded. It's really something that I think many journalists have benefited from. Not only in Uganda, because it started in Uganda, it went to Maisha in Kenya, it went to Zambia, it went to Zimbabwe, it went to Malawi, it's now in Tanzania. So it's a whole consortium of journalists who meet every month. The idea is you're meeting scientists. So you bring in a scientist, you bring in a user. If you're talking menstrual health, like today, you should bring in somebody who has experience on menstrual health. We call that a user. Or a young person who has had issues, or, you know, that's what we call all. If it's a disease, it's a patient advocate. Somebody who has really suffered the disease because they know what has happened. And then we also bring in civil society. We do also bring in government to balance, you know, everybody's talking at the time. So government speaks for policy because the government will say, yeah, we need
a policy.
We need a policy on
At the
that.
end of the day, it goes
The
to
scientists will say, we researched on this and this is happening. The user will say, I suffered from this disease and this is what happened to me. Civil society will say, we need to do more because this is really a problem and we want it to get better. So that is how the whole idea rolled out. It's done differently in different countries, but for us, we still do it just like that. We bring the scientists in. We do not even sit in a very important place. We used to sit under a tree when we are in Tinder. So our office was there and we had a huge compound and we just put tents and then we call in the scientists. And now we still do the same. And I think it's been a very long, good journey of learning science.
So no interviews that I'm going to ask you questions here. It's just you talking.
No, we don't even allow them to come with slides. They come in and speak about in very simple terms, because one of the other issues is science has these difficult terms that people do not understand. And we journalists also don't understand. So the idea was that you come in and speak to us in very simple terms. And we do this also in upcountry places. We have people who belong to the health journalists who do that. In Masaka, we have Malik. In Barara, we have Anita. In Gulu, we have John Okot. In Sorati, we have Emma. And they also do the same thing. They may not be doing it as frequently as we do, but they do it.
They also call scientists around
they call their journalists in the region. They call the scientists. They sit media cafes and talk about science.
Wow, that's great. Are there some outcomes that you can point out and say, through the media cafes, there are some things that have come about? Is there a change of policy? Because I know this is a long-term vision. Some people may want this, but are there some indicators to see impact for this time that you've been there?
I think impact is measured in terms of policy. I wouldn't put that.
I think that's too big.
That's too difficult to quantify.
No, but you can achieve it over time. You won't see that you're the one, but it's those conversations.
But I can say that the fact that it has expanded beyond Uganda, that's good enough.
Very, very great.
2, we have people who seek us out and say, we need to speak to professionals. So in the market today, you know, there is a lot of people who are masquerading we usually get these calls and say, we need to speak to people who are doing science reporting, who are doing health reporting, and who have done this who understand what we want to talk about. And we've hosted quite a number of people, which is really good. We have had people we do host the one we had last week, we had Professor Caleb, who is...
Wow, Caleb, I know.
Yeah, the big man from, a big scientist from UVRI. And that's not the first time he has come to speak to us. We also had Dr. Henry Chobe. So we have had ministers. Dr. Msenero came and spoke to us. We have had many people who are really important scientists in this country come and speak to us. And that, I think, is an achievement in itself.
Great, great. Getting those people to come through, that's not also easy in a dispensation such as this one. So I commend you, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's tremendous. Let's move on to the issue of some of the challenges. In fact, before you even reach the challenges, they are journalists. What have they stand to gain? Yes, they have talking to these people. One would ask, so what?
So what is a question we do ask in journalism, but in this case, as you would know, there are people probably who would never get a chance, who would never in their journalism world get a chance to have some of these people really speak to them one-on-one and explain, pick out time. You know, there is a preference of media for some people. They will say, oh, I want to speak to the New Vision, I want to... But in the Health Journalist Network, we have even the basic radio stations. So their journalists will come in, and their journalists will grow with us. They will grow and understand these topics by themselves. It takes a bit from the journalists themselves to be curious. So I'm not even policing anybody. It takes you as a journalist to be curious and say, okay, I'm coming and I'll do that.
Because it helps you as a journalist.
It helps you. It's not helping me. So they do show up. The numbers are outstanding. Actually, we limit the numbers now. Yeah, we do not... at first, everybody used to come, but now we have over 70 members, and now we have to cherry pick. We especially want the young ones to come in and listen to the scientists. Secondly, I think journalism is about sources. If I have you as a source, it is easy for me to make a call and say, hey, I need this information quickly. And in this era of fast-moving information, it works. So if this source, who is a scientist, has seen you and has interacted with you, I think it becomes a little bit easier for them to trust you. That's a good word. To trust you and to also get to you and explain these things to you. So it builds that relationship and cements it because you're there, you're speaking to them. It's a very informal, casual place. They take your number. The next time they want to do something, they're calling you and saying, hey, I have this story. Can you give me a perspective on it? And the scientists will speak to you. So that has really helped, and that is really helping. But also between us, we think I mean, I've not done the metrics, but I'm thinking that accuracy is something that we all strive for. And
we should strive for.
We do strive for.
These days they strive for clout.
People strive for clicks and all that, but we have seen that we should just be looking for accuracy.
It's the core.
Yes, so I think there is a lot of that. People, the journalists who come to the media cafes do a lot of do get things right, because in hindsight we also audit ourselves, like, hey, this professor didn't say that. If we read your story and you got it wrong, we'll say, no, he didn't. He did not.
You misquoted the gentleman.
Yes. So we don't have a lot of those because the journalists are very professional.
Wow, that's what you will say. You are being good.
Yeah.
Esther Nakkazi, one of the founders at the Uganda Health Journalists Network. Let me come to you working with young journalists, because you mentioned that you're now giving more priority to these young journalists that are coming through. But these young journalists also have their kind of modus operandi. Many of them are emotional. You're not going to just, tell them things. Many of them are sensitive to issues. Some of them are complacent. The transport refund on every activity that comes through. How has it been for you working with young journalists?
The young journalists, I think today, sometimes I sit back and say, sometimes I question myself and say what is going on in the schools that is teaching some of
These journalists.
these people. But I think if somebody has taken on a job, it should be a calling. If you're a doctor, it should be a calling. Try to do a good job. And especially if you're young, you should strive to learn. There are people who are out there. We do offer mentoring. We match young ones to the old ones so that they learn from them. And you can only do so much, but we try. And the journalist today, of course, is not the journalist we had long ago. I think there was more strict, more attention paid, the more,
Critical.
more critical thinking, more, but with the mentoring and the trainings and everything, I think we can pull up more journalists now and try to put them on our side and make them do a good job. Some of them come out when they're doing a good job, I must say.
Of course.
Yeah, so I think it is also a personal initiative, but the organization tries as much as possible to pick the young ones, tell them, look, you need to do a good job. We need to pair you with this person and try and be at their level. The market is not very good in terms of payment.
That's where I was coming. Journalists are broke.
Very broke people. And
Some are not paid.
we try and look for opportunities. We do try and look
But
for
how do you balance that? Because I think you've also been there, and in your era 20 years ago, it was even worse. Because I remember they used to say they're giving you stories, Pastore 2,000 shillings or 3,000. I'm not sure. You just fact check me here and there. But today, journalists have sold their souls, for lack of a better word, for mammon, or money. Is there something you can comment on the journalists really these days killing stories, but also the affiliation of journalists with future positions? I'm going to be a spokesperson of this and this entity. I'm going to do this and this. Like, where does the issue of money come into the journalism of today? How do we deal with it really?
I think back then, the money was not, it was not really an issue. I think we went into the profession when we wanted what we are doing.
It was passion.
I remember we had, just go to this place, interview my scientists, come back happy to the newsroom, type I don't care about transport refund. I just want my story to be published. And my dad used to read the East African and say, hey, I saw your story. Oh my God, that was really good. So I think that drove the work we were doing. It's a different ballgame now. People are really broke. The employers did pay. However little they paid, they paid. Right now, there are many politicians who own media houses and don't want to pay. I think that's where the problem is coming. Because you're bringing in young people, you're bringing in people who also have family and all these things, and then you're not giving them any money. So it then boils down to them going to organizers and asking for money and selling their souls, as you say. And that is really, really sad. The media owners should, I think, I just pray they should try as much as possible to pay the journalists.
Because
Otherwise,
is going to tell a story when you're not paying them.
Exactly.
Of course, they are going to go in the field and someone is going to say, keep quiet, let me give you 2 million. And to them, 2 million is a lot, and they'll have to accept it.
and they are hungry, and they are. It's sad. It's just sad, the space where we are at, where people are just not paid. They're not paid. The media owners are not doing a good job on their part. And I cannot say...
But are we worth the money? Before we even talk about, okay, yes, we are not paid, but are we worth, do we bring value to the table of especially the way you're looking, not just, I look at the grand scheme of things, the journalism generally. Do you think we are worth the money that we want?
I mean, for every profession, if you've gone to school and you do it with a passion, people come out with a passion to do good. And then in the newsroom, they find that they can't survive, their children can't go to school, they're not eating lunch, and then they go astray. But I think for everybody out there who is, you know, wants to do good, people, I don't think people are evil-minded. People can do good. It's the media owners that I should really...
No, because one is saying, these people are writing wayward stories. If you read stories, they put capital letters in the middle of a sentence. The
grammar is another thing.
See,
but I also...
So why am I paying
Why are you not even
that
balancing the story? These are things, basic things you learned. Why are you not doing a good job? So maybe the person is also thinking,
so the Mugaga will say, why should I even pay you?
Well, no. I think let's first clear the payment and say they should be paid.
Then we can look at the scrutiny later.
If you do not like what I'm doing, pull me out, but pay me. Yeah? Pay the ones who are doing a good job, because then you will maintain a good crop. You cannot just say, oh, because they're doing a bad job, I'm not paying them. Then we will scatter the whole profession and things will not
some
go
get
right.
pissed and they just say, for you, because you made this statement on radio today, I'm not going to pay you. It's these people of today. I'm still with Miss Esther Nakkazi. She's a journalist by profession, and of course we're talking about a lot of things happening in the journalism industry. We are halfway into this particular hour, and that means we have 30 minutes to end this particular conversation. But of course, we cannot continue without talking about some of the challenges you as a person that you face in building such a vision of the Uganda Health Journalists Network. Are there some challenges that you faced, that you still face, that you think you can share with Ugandans?
I think when you come out to do good, this whole thing came from a space of, let's do this. It wasn't only me, there were other people on board. So you say, let's do this.
How many were you roughly as you started?
Well, maybe like four people. Then, yeah, most of them were women. But even before we took it a bit further, some people dropped out. Because it takes legwork
to build. It
takes money. You're registering the organization. You're putting in a lot of time. It takes away something from you. You have to want to do it. And the challenge is, when you're hearing, when you're a leader, I think you don't need to listen to many people. Stick to the vision, because the negative talk sometimes will wear you down. People will say all sorts of trash. Oh, she's doing this. Oh, you know, you just keep like, this is the vision. This is where I want it to go. You stick with the ones who are really following.
Because somebody, only you know.
Because yeah, if it is what you want, you keep it going. And the other challenge is, like I said, the activities. So if people don't come for media cafes, if you don't offer them training opportunities, if you do not mentorship, if you are not doing all those things, why should they be part of the organization? then it wouldn't make sense. Then the organization also doesn't make sense. So one of the challenges that I have is actually looking for funding.
No, that one.
Yeah, because I have to really get in people's faces and say, we are the health journalists, we are professionals, we can do this, we can do that. If you can train these people, they can do a good job. If you can, yeah, so that is a challenge. And the other challenge that I talked about scientists are the key people in the game.
The common denominator.
Yes. So you get to a level where you have hosted like 20 scientists. You have no women scientists. And you're like, I need women scientists to come and speak to us too. They are equally important. And getting them on the table is a challenge. It's a big challenge. First of all, there are very few scientists. And they are very good, I must say. But getting them to come to speak to the media is something that becomes, yeah, you have to really convince them. The men you have to convince, but the women, you really have to say things. And now with social media, I think the challenge is, you know, how do you make this work in terms of how are you making people see value, and how are you making them keep on with the times, so that if you've had a crew that has been doing, you know, traditional media, when they are moving on, they are also picking up the new tools that are coming on board. How do you keep that going? So that's a challenge, because like you say, some of them become complacent in their, I'm not their editor. No, I'm just somebody who wants them to thrive. So if they're seated in their newsrooms and they are comfortable, and you're like, you guys, you should embrace this. This is coming and that is coming. Please try and pick it up, and that. That is also something. But also, you know, because the news has changed now, even the way we used to do science cafes has changed. Sometimes we do live coverage, like the cafe is happening, and then we
stream it.
We are streaming it out for people to see. We do, after COVID-19, there was a lot of misinformation and disinformation. There are people who are interested in spreading certain things, especially about vaccines. And
curative methods.
Yes, so for you to get this group of people who are working in many organizations and try to, all of you have to have a same understanding of, yeah, this is true, this is scientific, this has been researched on.
There is evidence.
This is evidence-based, because science is evidence-based, and science works on that. And so those are the challenges that are in the market right now.
Wow, the problem of disinformation and misinformation, you highlight it, because I'm a fact checker myself. I started a fact-checking organization that I believe is very vital, not only to just publish factual information, but also train, capacity build for student journalists, but also for mainstream journalists. So I understand the problem of misinformation. Just to give more context to the people who may not understand, how does false information, because dis and misinformation, for the benefit of our people, misinformation is just false information that is shared unintentionally, and disinformation is false information shared deliberately for a certain gain or certain impact. To what extent does false information undermine science, and why is it so vital at a time like this to ensure accuracy, especially in telling science-related stories?
At this point in time, it is really important. People like you who do fact-checking, it is important. Like I said, we do it internally, because if you put out wrong information from a cafe, we will say, no, the scientist didn't say this.
Exactly.
Or even if it's not from a cafe and I read a story and you're part of the network, we have a WhatsApp group and we'll say, I think this is not correct. You need to you know.
Edit.
But for people like you who are professional fact checkers, I think there is a big job out there, especially after COVID-19. People deliberately spread news and you're like, are you sure? This is not true. And you know the process of not repeating what they have said, not doing that. And the good thing today online, they can call the story and actually change it. But you know what goes in the brain first will stick.
And they say false information travels very
Fast,
many kilometers before the truth is putting on the show.
So even if you recall a story and you tell a journalist, but this is not true, the other version has already gone and people are already debating it. And then you have the so-called influencers who will, then everything will go haywire. But especially for vaccines, I think it's something that we should, it's a big challenge.
Yeah,
it's a big...
I actually did a fact check about that, and someone was saying that tokkiriza, I'm going to say it in the Uganda dialect, tokkiriza kugema, kubanga bakugema ogenda kuyingizamu emisambo. And many people believe that, by the way. And when you fact check that, someone will say, we cannot. But there are many people believe in it.
Yes.
Who want to go for the vaccination?
Exactly. Yellow fever has just come on board and people had all these speculations. And I think it is upon us as science journalists and the scientists to actually put out this factual information. There is a lot of falsehoods, but the more people see people they trust, they will probably say, but okay, I heard this person say this. No, this reporter from New Vision who has been doing this for a while said this. So these people have to also deliberately come out and put out the truth, not repeating what falsehood was there, but for them coming with their truth and saying this is what is correct and this is what is true.
Because you'll amplify, when you repeat, you're amplifying the false information at the end of the day. Okay, now the other question that I have for you, you've had, I don't know if you've heard of some of the challenges that were happening in UJA, the Uganda Journalists Association, people saying the patent rights are for an individual, but this body is supposed to be uniting all of us. Isn't that the same story? One in Uganda Health Journalists Network, one would say, why should I feel a sense of ownership? Why should I feel a sense of part of this? Yet it's a personal initiative by you. You sat down with a group of your friends and you started an organization. Why do I have to really feel that? Even if I'm a health reporter.
Why should you be? That is a very good question, because we do have two arms of the Health Journalists Network. So this runs pretty much as a private company, which is registered that way. And it's a personal initiative. But then we have a kitty, a self-help initiative, and people pay 50,000 shillings. It's not a lot, but even then, some people don't pay it.
It's a lot, my dear.
People pay 50,000.
With a country where people can spend a year, with a month without holding a penny.
But every day, on the other arm, when I'm looking for funding, I tell the donor that these journalists, even if they are coming to learn and get information, when they come in, we give them 50,000 shillings per person, per cafe, and we feed them. Every cafe.
That's transport refund.
Yes.
Good one.
And they are sitting in for just 2 hours. So when I'm making the budgets and I'm looking for money, we do that.
First of all, you're so open.
On this, yes, I am.
Okay.
On this other arm, we are saying pay 50,000 per year for self-help. So that if you lose a mother, a father, those close relatives, we have a kitty to say, hey, you've gotten an accident. We say, hey, you're part of us. We appreciate you, and you've been contributing this. But even that is a problem, you know. Even if you say, okay, for this cafe, I'm going to withhold the money, they will say, no, as if it's there.
Yes, generally it's like transport refund.
So the self-help is something that people I think when they put it in, they feel like they belong. Because, yeah, you know, if you've had those problems and you've lost somebody, you definitely feel like, yeah, you need help. Whatever small comes in whatever small form comes in, you will appreciate what comes in. And the arm that is managed by Flavia Nasaka, they will send you your kitty and say, yeah, we want to make this small contribution to your well-being. So yeah, that brings people together.
Okay, so the fact is, the Uganda Health Journalists Network, this one is limited by you individuals as shareholders and things, but it's not really an umbrella that you can say.
It is not an umbrella association where, yeah, with no.
Do they need some money to come through to join the Uganda Health Journalists Network?
What
is needed? Why need, for example?
No, you don't. You just need to be, because the demand now went up. I think people told people, and people told people. So when they ask, I'm like, can I see some stories you've done over the years that are related to health or science? Because we don't want Kayola and we don't want masqueraders. We want people who are serious. We try to keep time. When we are doing what we are doing, we try to keep it very professional, and we try to do a good job. So I must see what you have done and pass you to.
So when you have conclusively realized that maybe I'm doing something good, then you can enroll me into that particular campaign.
Yeah.
All right. You said you now have over 70 people.
70 people, yeah.
What's the vision? Where is it going?
I think the vision was really to have, you've read some stories out there where people do a good job, a really good job, and you're reading the story and you're like, wow, this is enlightening, this is really good. So the vision was to have that standard of accuracy and of storytelling that would inform the public and contribute to a healthier society. You know, we are such a society where the health literacy is so low.
We live by the mercy of God.
Even basic things like hygiene that you think people would understand, people do not want to understand. And I think that's the vision, and especially the people who are doing it up country, because they do the cafes in their local languages pretty much. The scientists will come, but they also switch. Even in Kampala, we do switch to local languages because there are people who do community radio stations or local news in maybe local languages. So, so we want the ordinary people to hear accurate, factual information about this, especially prevention. We focus a lot on things that are preventive. Vaccines are preventive. Medicines that are preventive, like for HIV, there are all these, you know, medicines that people will take and they will not catch the disease. For TB, you can go have your sputum done. So really the goal is to have a society, a community that is health literate. I think it starts from you.
Exactly.
If you know I have to boil my water in the house and not catch typhoid, it helps.
Yeah, boil the water.
If you know I have to wash my hands, if you know there is a pill called Truvada and you're having reckless sex, then you will not catch HIV. If you know if I slept with somebody and probably I don't know their status, I can run to the health facility and get a pill that will prevent this. If you know if I get this vaccine, I will not catch this disease. It's really that kind of information we want the public to understand.
Exactly, and I want also journalists out there to understand that the public does not know these things.
No.
We have a mindset that assumes, they understand that washing hands is just basic, one would call it common sense. But oftentimes I've realized people do not know that washing their hands from a toilet is something that they should do.
And it translates to prevention
yes.
of this disease. So that literacy is what we want. If you're doing this action, what are you translating it to? If you have this vaccine being given, what are you translating to? If you're not catching this disease, what are you translating to? So a healthy society is what everybody is striving for. And I think as health journalists, that's what we want to strive for. So we have less people in the hospitals. If you're cleaning your home, you're not. The malaria vaccine is coming. If you're taking the malaria vaccine, if you're doing that, I mean, let's have a health society.
You've hinted on something I wanted to ask. And you said when in your first statements that you tell health stories differently. They are not the normal, because now when someone thinks about health stories, they're like, okay, maybe there is a disease, let me go. Maybe there is poor hygiene, let me go and talk about this. How can these journalists, because young journalists are watching you right now, they're most of the people that watch our TV, mostly young people, but I know among them they are young journalists. How can they be different in their storytelling? How can I approach science, but not just telling the normal thing, the basic thing? How can I be different and innovative in my storytelling as a health reporter?
I think you have to be very intentional when you're doing this. Use sources or people that are trusted and they know their stuff, and they will talk, they'll give the information. Try and read. Read. There's a lot of information out there that you can read and pass to the keep it very, very accurate. We do not want to spread wrong, false information, because people die.
Yeah, this is people's lives.
Yeah, it's people's lives. Try and keep it very accurate. That's very, very key. And you know, you can do a 1 minute short video that is exciting, that is nice, that appeals to the public, and you're bringing in how do you prevent this, what is that, you know. Deploy the right tools, keep it factual, keep it nice, and spread it, because it goes worldwide.
Wow, okay. That is Miss Esther Nakkazi. We're still having a conversation. We're coming to the end. I think we have like 14 minutes to end. But we cannot go without me asking you something that I really wanted to point out, is this issue of health journalism, this issue of accuracy, and this issue as you a brand reporter for 20 years. And I'm asking you this as a lady, balancing family and these things that you're doing. How do you do this?
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, it's a tough one.
Even today I had to, the child had left a key, then you're running, then you're...
Exactly. How do you balance it?
I'm driving, the police stopped me. So it's something that you think you want to do, and you partition your time and you say, I am going to do this. But most of all, you need support from family. I mean, I have family that is very supportive. My husband is supportive. I have, relatives that are very supportive. And, but managing my timetable, I know I travel a lot. I travel out of the country a lot. I do many things. I'm looking for that. I'm doing that. I'm doing freelancing. Freelancing actually brings more money than the organization. So I have to keep the organization really running. But freelancing is my thing. I love writing. And it's what brings food to the table. So for me to partition my time and say I'm putting 60% of my time in this, and I have a family to run, children need to see you, husbands need to talk to you, keep it very, very, very focused, and try to partition, give quality time to everybody, and other people do it too. It's just a matter of learning how to balance.
So it's subjective. It's only an individual who can know how to balance it. Really, it's more intention on you, the person, to say, okay, this is the time I'm giving to my freelancing. This is the time I'm giving my children.
It's
more intentional on
and
your side.
I'm not picking calls at this time, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not just wasting my time on that. I'm doing this because this is what I want to do. This is my alone time. Today I'm not going to town. I'll do my work from home, and if I do my work from home, I'll not want these children to disturb me, or I will not, you know, those things, those small things keep you going. Otherwise you can run mad, especially as a woman.
Yeah. And also, just to add on the concept of building, you see, this generation, and I'm sorry to say this, but we don't want to build something of our own. We are into, okay, let me look for a job, let me go to this certain TV, let me go to this media house.
Yeah.
What do you tell someone about, because for you were in the media house, but you also came out and said, let me do my own, let me hustle on my own, let me do my own freelance, it's a hustle on my own, let me build this organization, it's my hustle. What does it take for you to build? And what are the advantages, really?
It takes what do I say? I think it's your personality. You have to want to do it. But I also think that in the newsroom, beyond a certain time, you're really running on very thin ground. You need to really think hard, because after 10 years, you have a boss. You know how controlling the editors are. And even if you're an editor, you're also controlled by the media owner. So after that time, try and think sustainably. You're not permanent in that job. You're going to go away. So even if you're not doing what I'm doing, but think sustainably. If I leave this place, if I leave this chair, where am I going? I think people forget that. They sit and say, I'm in this new vision, I'll be here. But one day you will go. So sustainably think of what you want to do very, very early on. It's good to be out in the field first, because people know you, people get to know you, you also know the field, then you understand what's going on, then you grow a little bit. But it's also good to, if you step out, you know exactly what you want to do. But that thought of you, I think, comes in at the time you're still in the newsroom, you're still employed, and you're saying, this is what I want to do. It may not be freelancing, it may be a small farm, it may be a small hustle somewhere, but still, we do not want to be these journalists who are like looking for food, no money. No, that's not good journalism. You have to have a side hustle that puts something on your table and that brings you something besides, what you get the other side, because it's a key thing. It's now a really, really key thing.
Exactly. So there's also an issue of you. There are girls who want to be like you. They have heard that you travel. You like those trips like nothing. You have family, then you have built also a career. You came driving. So girls want to be like you. What does it take to be you? For a girl out there, because they may see and then, oh, she's living the life. What does it take to be you?
It's a lot of patience. A lot of patience and not wanting quick things, yeah? It's a lot of patience. Let me just say, science gives you a lot of opportunities. Science reporting. You have been talking about politics and all that. When you write science and people read you, they actually seek out for you. So it's like, people will seek me out and say, come and attend this conference, come and speak. I even speak at conferences, like come and speak your experience. So there are all those other things that you also pick up as a journalist. Let me also back up on the other question. you know, when I was in the newsroom, I was also doing rapporteuring. Because as a journalist, you're a writer.
Of course,
you actually can pick up those skills as I can do rapporteuring, I can do editing,
yes.
I can do all those things. So don't just sit back and say, oh, my job is just to go put a microphone on somebody's mouth and pick up that. Try and read up. Pick up those soft skills that can bring, and people need those skills in this market. They will need people who will do copy editing for them, people who will do rapporteuring for
Social
them,
media
people who will
management.
manage social media. When I came from MIT, I was managing Twitter accounts.
Exactly.
By that time, very few people were, and I was teaching people how to do Twitter.
Social media,
Yes. So pick up those soft skills. They put more money on the table, and they make you get a bigger access to some of the money that you need to. But most importantly, I think be patient and try and do a good job. Do a good job.
Okay.
Because people will remember you and say, oh no, call this person. The traveling bit, it's still, they read you.
Yeah.
And even if you're in Uganda, so you know, it's a world wide web now.
Yes.
People read people and they'll say, yeah, I think this she's doing a good job.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's an ounce of truth. Okay, 54 minutes to the top, 5 minutes to the top of the hour. May I have your parting shots or your conclusive remarks? What is that? If they had to forget everything you've said, what shouldn't they forget?
I think what they should, what they should not forget in especially young people, young women starting out careers, not only journalism is, there is a lot of patience that you need. What I am today is not what I used to be. You take it out slowly and be patient. There is nothing like money is going to fall on your head without you understanding and doing a good job. The money we used to get was, you would even walk to cover your story. You're not expecting anything. You don't even want to eat. You just want to do, I want my story to appear. I'm going to call this one. So you're dedicated to what you're doing and you try to do it well. And try to build your sources if you're a journalist, because sources make your stories good. If you, like I said, pick up those, use the soft skills you have. There are so many people now, and with the new media, there are so many. Mobile phones can just shoot something small. There are so many things that you can do right now to add on to your income and try and survive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Maybe lastly, is there anything you enjoy to do when you're not into journalism, mainstream? What are some of the hobbies that you have?
I love traveling. Somebody who loves seeing places. I do watch a lot of movies. In my free time, I'm watching movies. Most of them are science-based, and yeah, those are the things that I enjoy doing.
Okay.
And of course, spending time with family.
Wow, it was a privilege having you on the show, madam.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, thank you so much, our viewers who have watched us from the time we started at 8 a.m. I've been with Miss Esther Nakkazi. She's a journalist, but also one of the founders of the Uganda Health Journalists Network. And of course, they're doing a tremendous job in not only, advocating for accuracy, but also amplifying the voices of science in this community. Because when you have when you're informed, you make an informed decision upon anything. So if it's your health, if it's a curative method, if it's a way of curing yourself from a certain disease, a way of, dealing with any kind of condition, please make a decision from an informed point of view. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. On behalf of Digitalk TV, I'd love to thank you and request you to continue following us on our social media platforms at Digitalk TV, at The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, on Twitter, and all other social media platforms. We'll be uploading this particular video on YouTube right after now, because you can go there and watch it without any buffering. In case you have your time, you can watch it and just leave it a comment, a message, and we'll be able to improve how we serve you. Don't miss tomorrow, Woman Crush Wednesday. Miss Farida Vikobere will be here, and Luwede Lillian to take you throughout the day. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. God bless you. God bless Uganda. See you soon.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.